So I'm out and I wanted to practice some more off-camera flash and hopefully give you guys a few more tips on shooting with an off-camera flash and full manual. You know, you just need to go out and practice a little bit, and it's not that hard. So hopefully these little photo walks show you that it's really easy and nothing you should be worried about. Now for gear, I'm just using my EM10 Mark II with the 40 to 150 kit lens, but today I've attached the 10mm extension tube because I'm going to try and do some macro work. And then also, you know, I have my variable ND filter because that really helps like in broad daylight to keep the lens wide open and, you know, get some depth of field if I want that in the image. If you don't already have a flash, you should get one. Even like a $30 one would be fine, but I finally ran across a flash that the optical trigger is good enough that you can use it outdoors in bright sun. So I'll talk about that flash in another video. And it's like 70 bucks, so it's not bad. Okay, I've run across some very, very tiny flowers here. Just ignore all this other gear. It's mainly so I can record this video. Normally I would just be hand holding the EM10 Mark II. So let me just show you my settings real quick in the super control panel. I lock the ISO at 200, sunny white balance. I have my focal point in the lower bottom third, and I'll be shooting in monochrome, and you'll notice I did +2 on sharpness, +2 on contrast, and I'm going to do a 2-second shutter delay, as I always do with macro work. And then superfine plus raw. But all the images today I'm going to show you are going to be just straight out of camera JPEGs. And the only other thing that I had to do is in the menu under picture mode, I changed this to low key, and we have a red, black and white filter, and I kind of like that purple tint. And that's it. So let's find a composition. And when I have the 40 to 150 with the extension tube on, you have to get the focus close first manually just by zooming in and out. So for example, right now all I have to do is zoom in or out until I see that this is almost in focus, and then I can just tap the shutter button halfway to finish for me the focusing part. So let me get this into the left thirds and take a shot here. If I didn't have this thing, I could just do the touch screen, but let's try that. I have my variable ND filter on the front here, and I just have it at the minimum setting because we're still at 1/640th shutter speed, which is way more than enough. So let's just get a shot here. And the first shot, I always like to get pretty dark as a test shot, and I want to just barely see what the subject is. So that's what we see here. And then the next shot, and you kind of just pick this up as you start doing it more, but right now it's a little bit cloudy, and I'm going to get the flash as close as I can to the subject. And I have this little can cooler snoot on that I showed you in my last video, but I'm at 1/128th power, and that may be enough. So let me pop up the on-camera flash and let's check the settings there. Manual 1/32nd power. That should be more than enough to trigger the optical trigger on this one. Now the first thing I notice is that the shutter speed is blinking, so what I have to do is adjust the ND filter until it stops. And we can go right about there. And I like to stay as fast as possible to freeze the action and eliminate any motion blur as much as possible. Let's do one with flash. And what I like to do is I'll go over to the image information here by clicking the info button, and I like to see as much blue as possible around the subject, which means it's almost black. And then the subject itself, I don't want to see any red, which means the highlights are blown out. And as far as I can tell on this, that is the case. So I think technically this is a very good shot. Okay, so here's some flowers here. If anyone knows what they are, just let me know in the comments below. I mean, photography's really been a learning experience for me as well, learning the names of things. Yeah, that looks good. And if we're lucky, something will fly on there. So I'm just going to zoom in and out until I get focus. And then tap the shutter button to make sure. Yeah, now let me rotate this. All right. Okay, so I'm right there on the shutter as the clouds move around. Let's get one here. Let me put my foot down. So I can just barely see a little bit of the flower there. And I'm going to leave the flash at 1/64th power. And let's try that. Oh, my shutter's blinking again. Let me get under. There we go. All right, very good. Okay, so I've run across some flowers here. And again, if you guys can tell me what they are, it'd be much appreciated. So I've already set up here for this shot, but I wanted to give you another tip, because sometimes when you're dealing with the variable ND filter, the live view goes almost completely black and it's very difficult to compose. Even though the camera is still able to focus, you can't see anything. So what you need to do is turn on the live boost. So you just go into the menu here, in the settings, go down to display, scroll down until you see live view, and then go all the way down here to others if you happen to be shooting in PAS, like an aperture priority, and turn that to on 1. And then you should be good. And now I can see the composition, and you know, I don't care what the live view shows in terms of exposure, because we're doing something creative and not what the camera wants to do. So that's why what you see in the live view usually doesn't matter. I'm only going to use it in this case for composition. And I'm facing the flower almost straight on. So I think I can go with a shallower depth of field so that the background is still blurry if any light spills onto it from the flash. So let me compose this a little bit. Actually, I like this composition, just front and center. So let me put my focus point there. Like so. And let me check my shutter. Let me open the aperture wide open. And we're still under 1/250th of a second, so let's take a shot here and see how it looks. And good. So I can see that the flower is highlighted a little bit around the blue, so that it will show when I use the flash just right, and everything else should be blacked out. So I think what I'll do is I'll move the flash back a little bit further away, which is effectively reducing the power that it puts onto the flower. So let me try from here. All right, perfect. That's the exact shot I wanted.